Are you looking to save time and save on decision making when it comes to meal planning? I love variety. I love to try new recipes and I love to try new foods. And so whenever I can, I'm always trying something new. However, too much variety can cause complexity. It can cause brain fatigue with so many options to choose from. And working full time, sometimes I just want dinner on the table fast and I don't want to think about it. That's where my go-to decide once family favorites come into play. I'm sharing with you 5 of those and they are, like I said, my family's favorites, and they're easy to make because I've been making them until my family tells me they're tired of them, which hasn't happened yet. So I continuously make them for my family. I know them like the back of my hand and I want to share them with you so that way you can be inspired to decide once on your go-to recipes, or maybe you'll find your next favorite from mine. All right, let's get started. This first go-to decide once meal is when I end up with these remaining bags of chips. They're down to like the crumbs and the bits. I've got probably 3 to 4 different kinds. Whenever I seem to have just about 1/4 of the bag left, nobody's going back to them, I know it's time to make chicken nuggets. I call it clear out your chip cabinet chicken. It is my favorite way to get rid of all this because nobody's gonna eat these otherwise, and it makes the perfect breading for chicken nuggets. So let's go ahead and get started with all our chips. We'll put it in this bag here.
The chips I had left over were 2 kinds of pork rinds. I also had these cauliflower sour cream and onion chips, and then some white corn tortilla chips. You could also use crackers or those crunchy fried onions.
We're gonna put our chips to the side and we're gonna prep our chicken tenders. I'm gonna cut these into bite-sized pieces. And now I'm going to add 2 egg whites to my classic batter bowl here. And I'm going to add to it 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning. So about 1, 2, it's about half the bag. And I'm gonna mix that up. All right, I'm gonna add my chicken tenders in here. Mix that all together. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of my ranch seasoning, just to give it a little more flavor. So probably just about another tablespoon in there. Now I'm gonna seal this up.
And I'm gonna crush these manually with my meat mallet, but you of course could use your food processor, but for easy cleanup, I just like doing it this way. I just think it's easier and quicker.
And sometimes it just feels good to whap something. Let's bring our coated tray from our air fryer, sprayed it with some olive oil. We're now going to take our chicken pieces and get them into our crumb mixture. We'll start with about half. What I'll do is seal that up. You just want to get those chicken tenders coated really nicely. Do y'all remember Shake and Bake? That's exactly what this is like. It's like those box mix of Shake and Bake.
But the nice thing about these is that we control the breading because these chip crumbs are from things that we eat and then are on our diet. I really like that. I got them all to fit on the large rack of my new air fryer. This is the first time I'm making it in my new air fryer, and I end up air frying them on the bottom rack for only 10 minutes. And I rotated the tray around halfway through the time. They came out perfect. And the other thing that's great about making these nuggets is I also get to use up any sauce we have that has a little bit left. They're perfect for dipping. I have my buffalo sauce. I also use some honey mustard and some ranch, of course. When my son saw that I was making these, his face lit up just like when he was a kid. He loved these. My family has always loved this. It's very nostalgic for us, just like a kid, of course, chicken nuggets. And he was so thrilled that I've been making them again. And he even suggested I take all these little chip crumbs and I just dump it right all over the chicken nuggets. Some got in the little sauce cups, but it was fine. Added some extra crunch. These are so crunchy and perfect, and I just love how happy it made him and me, and we ate these within minutes. This next decide once meal is when I have lots of extra cheese on hand and we want to have a low-carb, delicious breakfast. I make this quiche all the time and they just love it. The first thing I do is melt a tablespoon of butter over medium-high heat and add a chopped shallot. I like using shallots, but sometimes I can't find them, so I just substitute in onions. And then I add 2 heads of broccoli that I've chopped and a half a cup of water to help steam the broccoli. I add a teaspoon of salt and I'll cover it with a lid, which will help that steaming process. While it's cooking, I prepare my eggs, which is 6 eggs and 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Sometimes I sprinkle in 1/4 a teaspoon of nutmeg to add some earthiness, and I'll add a teaspoon of salt and whisk that up really well. I put the broccoli at the base of my pie dish, which has been greased, and then I'm going to pour the egg mixture on top of that. And then I'm going to submerge my little broccoli underneath the eggs and then coat it with plenty of cheese. I like a variety of cheese, so sometimes I use 2 or 3 different kinds, but any cheese will do. Then you're going to bake it in a 350-degree oven for 35 minutes, and this is what you end up with. It's the perfect low-carb reset meal, and we enjoy it all week. It's the best.
Whenever I have any leftover vegetables, leftover onions, carrots, any kind of hearty vegetables, red onions, zucchinis, and even a extra bonus is if I have some herbs, I know I'm going to make my favorite Change Your Life chicken.
Now this recipe, as well as the Decide Once principle, is all from the Lazy Genius author Kendra Adachi. I talk about her a lot in my videos because her concepts are easy and they just work so well for me, especially the Decide Once principle. Anything to help me cut out the decision fatigue. And that's where the sheet pan meal became a Decide Once meal for me. So I'm slicing up 2 zucchini. I'm also going to slice up some carrots, and I have some red and white onions. I leave them in kind of big chunks because they are definitely going to be cooking down. And my herbs. I love fresh herbs. I have some chives, I have thyme, and I also have parsley. I'm just going to finely chop all of those, take the thyme little sprigs off the leaves, and get everything into a nice chop. And then fresh is best here when it comes to your herbs, and that's when my garden is growing. I make this so often because in the warmer months I would make this on the grill. It is just so good. But if I don't have fresh, dry works just as well. It's a good way to get all those seasonings and herbs in your cabinet and get rid of those. Anything will work in this recipe when it comes to the herbs. The key here is to make this meal with skin on poultry. They're really the best, so you can use thighs, which is my favorite, but I've also done this with chicken legs as well. So I've peeled back the skin on the chicken thighs. That way I can get these herbs and the oil and the salt and seasonings underneath the skin, as well as on top of the skin and all over the vegetables. So I go pretty generous with all of the amounts of herbs and seasonings. This is now ready to go into my 500-degree oven, and I check the temperature after about 30 minutes, and it varies depending on the size of the chicken thighs, but I want them to get up to 165 degrees. I love how this comes out. The way that skin is so crispy, it's where all the flavor is. It is just so good. The chicken is juicy. The vegetables are nice and caramelized. It's the perfect go-to Decide Once sheet pan meal. My next Decide Once is the only way I'll make a salad for my family, and that's in a trifle dish. And I usually make it when I have leftovers from a party or an event. This is the salad that started my trifle dish obsession. It is a taco layered salad. I saw it on Pinterest and I ate with my eyes first. I thought it looked beautiful and I had to recreate it. I didn't realize 2 things. 1, how easy it was going to be, and 2, how much my family was going to love this. You start with your base of lettuce. I am just using regular iceberg lettuce that I've chopped. I put a can of black beans that I've rinsed and drained, and then I'm cooking down some protein. This is ground turkey. You could also use ground chicken. You could use, of course, ground beef, anything you like. And then a can of whole kernel corn. That is a beautiful yellow color. And then now a green layer, which is my avocado that I have just chopped and diced. And then my dressing. My dressing is super simple. It is just sour cream. I stirred in some lime juice to thin it out. And then I mixed in some tahini seasoning. I just spread that out, so you want your dressing to be a little thick, and it came out perfect. And then I added some chopped grape tomatoes around for a beautiful red contrast. A dollop of the sour cream, a little lime wedge, and some chopped cilantro that I just sprinkled all on top. And it was my family's reaction to this salad that made me never look back. And since then, I have made so many salads in a trifle dish. I've done the same salad with ground beef. I've done it with deli ham from charcuterie boards. I've done it even with Thanksgiving leftovers. I even have a whole video of all the trifle dishes I've made. I'll leave a link to it in the description box. This last Decide Ones recipe is something we make every week, and you see it in my hauls, and it is our cauliflower mash. We used to make this with fresh cauliflower, but it is easier and cheaper to use frozen. So 2 bags of frozen cauliflower florets into our Instant Pot. And this was also a Decide Ones decision. We always make this in the Instant Pot. And to our cauliflower, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic or 2 to 3 fresh cloves. And we're going to add 1 cup of chicken broth that we make with our bouillon powder. We'll go ahead and pour that all over the cauliflower, and then we'll cover the Instant Pot with its lid, and we put it on the steam setting. Once it's done steaming, we go ahead and release the pressure. And if we forget, sometimes we just let it naturally release. It doesn't matter since we're making a mash. We take all the cauliflower and add it into a bowl, and we're going to add 1 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. Let that all melt in, and then we'll add a sprinkle of salt along with about a half a cup of Greek yogurt, or you can also use sour cream. A good stir until it's the consistency of the mashed potatoes you like, and this will be used as our potatoes for the week. My husband loves this, and he also likes to use it for breakfast with a fried egg on top. And those are 5 of our Decide Once meals. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment letting me know a go-to Decide Once meal of your own. I'd love to hear. I appreciate you watching. See you on the next one.